Good morning. Today we're doing our second lesson on Tanya, Hasidus, and this is a lessons by the uninitiated, not the experts, just people who are interested in understanding Hasidus and Tanya and relationship between Hasidim and non-Hasidim, religious and non-religious. So we're doing every morning. Today is January 28th. It's the second lesson. Actually, we call it lesson number one. Yesterday we did, or the day before yesterday, before Shabbat, we did the lesson number 0, and we'll try to continue with Mizrat Hashem, with God's help. So we are learning Tanya, and we're using this book, which is by Rabbi Chaim Miller, a wonderful book called Practical Tanya, and we want to concentrate not in the. Oftentimes we learn Tanya. People learn Tanya in theoretical way, or as I would refer to that. Esoteric way, exalted way, where we relate Tanya to essentially Kabbalistic and spiritual values, brought down to us by God through Moses, through Ezekiel, Prophet Ezekiel, great Kabbalistic passages, to Shimon ben Yochai in Kabbalah Zohar, then on Arizal, and then on, of course, to Rabbi Shneur Zalman Liadi. So in this book, it's this very interesting book. We're going to ask the questions: how does it affect our day-to-day life? Not only our attachments to God and our being grateful and loving God, which is obviously goes without saying. And many times we learn classes how to become more closer to God, how to achieve closeness to God, how to dedicate as a Shema Yisrael saying, dedicate our body and soul. Tanya has a lot of that, but Tanya is not only a theoretical and emotional document about the relationship between people and God and people, but it also has to do with the relationship between people. The introduction to the book, it's a wonderful book. It takes several pages. Introduction itself is interesting. Before we go to aspect what considers a full tzaddik and incomplete tzaddik, complete tzaddik, incomplete rasha, complete rasha, and so forth, benani, in between. So when people want to know, am I a good person or not good person, and basically you can deduce from reading the Tanya that we all have our set of warts. We all do some good things and not so good things. And how do we become better? And it gives you practical examples and rules how to accomplish that, how to go through this process. But Rebbe Shneur Zalman, basically the third Hasid, so to speak, Baal Shem Tov, the founder of Hasidim, had a great disciple. Baal Shem Tov was born in 1698, so it's the end of 17th century, 1698. And his main disciple, Maggid of Megzdrich, actually, he was born roughly the same time as Baal Shem Tov. He was born, I'm looking, where do we have the dates? I can't readily find it in the book, but roughly the same time. And then he was like a second generation Hasid from Baal Shem Tov. His main disciple would be Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi in Poland or Western Ukraine, Central Ukraine. So he'll be the third Hasid, and he had a lot of followers. The following, there was a big faribel, there was a big debate between Vilna Gaon and Baal Shem Tov, trends, and Vilna Gaon, the classical Orthodox Mignagdim trend, was very critical of Hasidim. He felt Hasidim take the religion too lightly, l'chaim, instead of studying Talmud all day long. Of course, followers of Hasidism disagree with that, and he probably feel that he was very much Hasidism was very much misunderstood. Vilna Gaon, born in 1720, 1720. So Baal Shem Tov 1698, Vilna Gaon 1720. That's roughly 22. He was 22 years old. Baal Shem Tov and Vilna Gaon. He died, Vilna Gaon, in Rabbi Eliyahu of Vilna. Vilna Gaon died in 1797. So they are contemporaries with Baal Shem Tov approximately, and he overlapped with Shneir Zalman. Eventually, many centuries later, now today's, that split has been reconciled. And now, like, we're in Rinat Yerushalem. Today is January 28th, 2024, and we're in Rinat Yerushalem synagogue, where Mignagnim, so to speak, or followers of Mignagnim, not exactly European Jews, but Sephardi. This is Sephardi synagogue, although there's some Ashkenazis people there as well, like me. And Chabad also present in the synagogue, and with many events conducted together. So that split that was more than 200, 250 years ago, almost 200 years ago, healed itself. And now the learning of the Tanya adds very nicely to the classical yeshiva studying of the Talmud and Mishnah Gemara, which is like, maybe, how can I say, very important, but kind of cut and dry knowledge of the oral Torah. Tanya, Hasidus, adds to that spiritual element. When Rabbi Shneir Zalman wrote the book, he had a lot of followers already by then, and they came to him for advice. Family problem, shalom bayit problem, financial issues, loneliness, you name it. Just imagine now the beginning of the 18th century, 1750, somewhere that time, let's call it. Imagine area in Poland, Ukraine, Western Russia area, where how people lived. Don't imagine today skyscrapers and televisions and microwaves. The guy gets up in the morning, he does his short prayers, goes to the fields. Either he is a smith, or he's a farmer, or he is a shepherd. And usually, classically, in those days, people have large families. All our relatives, all our grandfathers, great-grandfathers, and back on, they were basically observant Jews. It wasn't modern, Reform, conservative, non-affiliated, Orthodox. It was all one Jews. And people probably, even in those days, followed closely the classical, traditional religious observances, and some probably followed less. They were less knowledgeable, like for generations. So when people needed to have life advice, they had to go to the social services agency. And at that time, social services agency was a rabbi. So you go to rabbi and ask for advice. So he was overwhelmed with the followers asking, "Hey, what do I do? My wife doesn't want to invite my cousin to Pesach. Should I agree with her? Should I not agree with her?" So he gave us advices. And eventually he felt it's so many people need advices. And after his passing on to the better worlds, who's going to replace him? So he felt he needs to write a book. And that's how the Tanya started, essentially. So based on the esoterical values of God's divine power, that is, and how it's manifests itself in practical terms today. How do I get advice if I don't feel good, sickness or a money problem? What do I do? I mean, it's very easy. Get another job. You got to do this. That's not very practical, or to some it's practical. To some people, it may not be very practical advice. So people needed. So he felt the book will give them that guidance. And of course, once you write a book, you eliminate the concept of closeness. It's not the same as you coming to a man, to rabbi, and ask him, "What do I do, Rabbi?" So he felt the book can, and the introduction explains why he felt the book, with certain approach to it, can be a substitute for rabbinical advice. And that's what essentially Hasidus reflects through Tanya, which is the fundamentals of the Hasidus, essentially, and carries itself through the centuries. So Good morning again. It's we're doing every morning at in Beersheba, Rinat Yerushalem synagogue. Join us. We have a big audience around us. A lot of people woke up this morning to listen to this recording. Maybe we'll start taking questions. But Shakrit is beginning in about 5-10 minutes. It's about 6:05 in the morning. We begin 5:45 in the morning for 15 minutes. To some people, it's a warm-up before work, because some people, interesting how people do their prayers in the morning. If they have to get up at 6 o'clock to work, when do they pray? Can they get up at 4 o'clock, 4:30, and do the entire Shachrit by themselves? Well, sun is not up yet. You can't even put tefillin and talis. So other people handle this. Do you do abbreviated prayers for like 15 minutes, then go to work, and then take a break? Sometimes at lunchtime, you catch up with Shachrit on your own or with a group. It's very interesting. That's also part of the Tanya, part of Hasidus. Should we feel guilty about it? Should we feel that's normal? Don't worry about it. Do the best you can. If it's 5:45 and you're still sleepy because you work all day, you're tired, you came home, you had your dinner, you had your arvit, and then you went to bed, and you can't get up until 8 o'clock in the morning to go to work at 8:30. That's understandable, no judgment. But if you can get up at, like, say, 5:35, and you live 5-10 minutes drive from here, 2 minutes drive, some people 2 minutes walk, we can come, get together, and discuss these things, point, counterpoint. So that's today. Tomorrow on Monday, we'll continue. We'll take some comments. So send some comments, some questions, and we'll try now to address the questions. But that structure, I put this Kabbalistic tree, Chochmah bin Adat, and the four worlds coming from our world of Asiya all the way, so it's Sira, Beriah, Atzilut into the Ein Sof, that filters our reception of the light from God down to us. By the time it comes to us, it's not the same light. It's been filtered through the several prisms. So do we receive the same light? I mean, you can see behind me. I can see behind me a reflection of the light. As I raised my hand, the light got brighter. You see, notice? The light is talking to us. Well, that's not the same as looking in the light bulb directly with your eyes. But then if I look in the light bulb directly, it blinds you. You can't see the light if it's too bright. It's funny. I just noticed how this light changes intensity. Maybe it's talking to us, like a Morse code. Very opportune time. There's Mashiach signs coming. You see that interesting light? The yellow rim around it? I see it right over here, over above me. I see I put my tefillin right under it. Oh, as you get closer, right into the light. So let's pick up tomorrow again on that. 15 minutes warm up. It's not a very in-depth Hasidus in classical sense. It's an overall view for the, as we call it, for the perplexed, the uninitiated. All right. See you tomorrow morning. Wake up and sing. Shavuot Tov.